Nick from Breaking the Clutch. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and Hurricane Irma has passed. Power is back on for me, which means that we've got more content on the way. We're not missing a step, and I want to give a quick shout out to Toxic, Purge Trooper, Epic Sal, Vengeful Vadam, Caterpillar Tom for suggesting Isabel, which I think in the last patch notes that came out last week, she got a bit of a buff, and I gotta say, I'm kind of enjoying it. Now, I played her, I think, 3 times this morning, and then I went off to work, and now I'm back. And I gotta say, looking back on it, I had a lot of fun playing with Isabel. There was one thing, well, I should preface with, there's one thing that you must focus on with Isabel, and that's, of course, upgrading her tech. She's still weak in the early game. Marines did get a little bit of a buff, so you could perhaps pump out a few Marines in the beginning to get yourself a little bit of a defense, but one thing that I want to stress is that you must upgrade as quickly as possible. Getting Tech 3 by the 8-9 minute mark is absolutely crucial in playing with Isabel, at least the way I interpret it. Now, the units that I'm really going to focus on with Isabel are going to be the tanks and also Nightingales. Of course, these two complement her leader abilities very well. First of all, you can get an upgrade early on. I think it's the second ability that you can possibly get, and it gives you quicker access to vehicles. It's cheaper and it's quicker. It's a must. I think it's like vehicle assembly or something like that. It's a must pick up for Isabel. Avoid restoration drone. You don't need it, especially if you utilize those Nightingales, which seem to be a fantastic pickup with her, especially if you get the second upgrade, which is going to be the one that gives your vehicles and your Nightingales, or I should say it's going to give your tanks and Nightingales a shield. I can't remember what that one is, but I'll put it on the screen right here. Now, these two abilities right here are what's going to push you into that competitive mid to late game with Isabel. Because if you run up against Grizzlies and you've got, as you'll see a little bit later here, if you've got the Nightingales with a shield and you've got yourself some tanks with a shield and you've got canister and you're also mixing in the upgrade 1, you can compete with any army that you can find. And of course, I'm doing all this within the 9 minute mark, so it's not out of the realm of possibility to get that canister shell, to get that vehicle upgrade 1, and to also get a good amount of tanks out with those Nightingales. You just got to make sure that you're going in this early game and focusing on upgrading your base. Now, of course, as I mentioned before, I'm not playing the most aggressive people, so this isn't typically how these kind of games are going to roll out for you, and you must adjust based on what the opponents have, but I'm doing my best in this gameplay. I'm going to go ahead and try to pick up 2 supply pads, and then the most important part, which I can't stress enough, is scouting. You'll see it, I preach it, but I never show in the videos myself scouting. It's because I'm practically lazy when it comes to these games, because most times you can simply play out a game normally and you'll get the win if you play a decent strategy and you really don't have to do much research into it. But now that I'm trying to jump back into this game and play it more often, I kind of got to start practicing what I'm preaching. So I'm going to start showing you guys what the benefits are of scouting, because I think the most compelling way to convince you guys that scouting is honestly a must is by simply doing it and showing you the benefits of it in these videos. And I'm going to go ahead and get a sneak peek with this Jackrabbit. It cost me $220, and I'm going to try to keep it alive for as long as I can. And I'm going to be able to see with that $220, I'm going to be able to see every base. I'm going to be able to see the units that they're producing. It gives me a little bit of an edge, because at this point with that scout, if I decide that that they've got a bunch of Marines out and they're pushing towards a base, then guess what? I can get myself some Marines. I can go ahead and upgrade, or I can get a turret, maybe upgrade that turret. I can choose to do several things that I wouldn't have necessarily done if I didn't scout, because if I'm not scouting, for instance, if I didn't scout this and things didn't play out how they did in this gameplay, I might have gotten ambushed by a bunch of Marines and I could have been caught trying to upgrade my base, and then I lose the game for my teammates because I'm not aware of what they're doing. So again, it is most important for each person to get their scout off, especially in a team war when you're not playing with people that you are very familiar with. So again, make sure that even if your opponent or if your teammate scouts, scout yourself. Take the 220 supplies and just scout very quickly, and it'll benefit your gameplay in the long run. And of course, when you benefit yourself, you're going to go ahead and benefit your teammates as well. I see that they've got a warlord somewhere over there, and then they've got some Marines. So I also see that only one of them, I think, had a barracks. So they're not going for the big rush. What they're doing is getting the expansions based on what they showed me at their main base. Now, expansions have to go as quickly as possible. And the way that I'm going to try to combat that while I'm getting my tanks, which of course is going to be Tech 3, I'm going to go ahead and pump out Warthogs. They don't cost me any power, so it's not deterring me from upgrading my base or saving that power to upgrade my base. I'm simply just making, I think I make 4, 5, 6 Warthogs, somewhere in that range. And then while I'm also doing that, I need to be picking up a secondary base, which you'll see right here. I'm sending that Jackrabbit over there to do. And this is the perfect time. They've expanded. I'm about to push their expansions, which is going to put the pressure on their side. Perfect time for me to pick up my expansion, because if I, for instance, say I focus on guarding my expansion from the Warlord and Marines in the center, then I'm not pushing their expansions. They have the mid-game control, and then it pretty much falls apart. Here's the issue with what they're doing, if I may speak on that real quick. They have nothing to defend themselves with. They have a few. They had a few Marines earlier. They had a Warlord. They're all just scattered right now, and you can tell that they're obviously not a full team. They're not communicating. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to take advantage of this as quickly as I possibly can. Deal the damage. If you're going to make a secondary expansion base, you must have the units to defend it. Obviously, get some Marines out. Get a couple turrets up even as soon as you upgrade that base. Do something to try and deter us, and you'll see this is the play that they were trying to play, or that they were trying to make right here, to defend the base. We went ahead, I Mac blasted that one, and I believe my teammate is Sergeant Johnson, so he's going to go ahead and EMP Mac blast perfectly in the back, and we absolutely devastate their units with 2 perfectly placed Mac blasts right there, which is gonna be the reason why we're able to take down this base. So thankfully, my teammate had a bit of a heads up play right there as well, and with that said, we're going to take that base down, no problem. I've got the Warthogs starting to circle over there, and again, I'm waiting for that Tech 2 or that Tech 3, which I just got, and I'm going to go ahead and get the tanks as quickly as possible, because again, I think that's where Isabel excels. I'm going to avoid infantry or utilizing infantry in this one. I think if I try to run Isabel in a 3s combo with Slick and Ryan, then I'm probably not going to have Isabel focus on infantry. Rather, I'd rather have a cutter or someone along those lines take the infantry, because they're much better candidates to do that. So again, if I'm dealing with air, pump out a couple wolves with that. If I'm dealing with Cyclops, then I need to have those Nightingales ready so I can drop the, I can't remember what it's called, but your special ability for the Y button. Go ahead and smoke them out so they can't attack you, and it gives yourself a few seconds to get away. Maybe even drop a Mac Blast in there to weaken them, and then have that canister shell clean them up. So as of right now, that's kind of where I stand with the rest of the units that Isabel could possibly utilize. Again, I'm sticking towards mainly those canister shell tanks and the Nightingales, and then I'll sprinkle in a couple Wolverines here and there to defend myself, because you can't have your teammates sit on top of you with the Reavers or Wolverines, because then they're not able to protect their own army. So you got to make sure that you're able to defend yourself, and you also have to make sure that you're not hurting your teammates by having them, take away from what they're already doing. And you'll see there was a glitch right there. Try to use a holographic decoy, and yeah, I have that. There's a bug in this game where maybe it happens to you guys as well, but my game will freeze, and then it'll freeze for about 10 seconds, and then it'll speed up the next 10 seconds to catch up with actual time, and it's fairly annoying, especially when trying to utilize Isabel's holographic decoy, because as you saw there on my screen, the units were right there. I click on it, and they weren't there on in real game time, which caused me to just pretty much waste it. So that's kind of frustrating. Hopefully that gets fixed in Awakening the Nightmare, but from as far as I can tell, that's happened since day 1, at least for myself. If that's happened to you guys before, let me know. Perhaps we can get some comments going, and perhaps we can see if 343 is aware of this. So hopefully, if you guys have that issue, let me know down below, and I'll try my best to maybe tweet that over to Sketch, the community manager for 343. You'll see the second base is up and running for them. We've got to take it out. Again, it's so crucial that you take out these Expos, and by taking out Red's Expo, I believe it was on the far left, we were able to put him back by a ton. You saw he upgraded the base, so by purchasing and upgrading it, I think he wasted around 600-ish power, and then he also had 3 supply pads on there as well, so that he wasted 450 there. He might have got that return back in the time that it took to kill it, but he didn't get that power back, so he at least wasted 600 on there. That pushes him way behind in the mid game, and I gotta say, I might be just happy to see Isabel doing very well, and I might be over exaggerating at this moment. Hopefully by this time next week I've got a more clear and level-headed approach to Isabel, but I really like the way that you can assault enemies in the mid game, like the beginning of the mid game with tanks. You get those canister shells, and you've got nightingales. It can all be done fairly quickly if you focus again on getting that power. And as I've said before, that won't happen every time. Every game's different. Make sure you get out the Marines, make sure you get that scout out, and you'll be able to adjust your strategies based on what the opponents are doing. If they're playing a more laid-back game and they're going for those expansions right away, make sure you take advantage of that. You stop the expos on the enemy side, you pick up those power nodes as well, and you push yourself into the mid-game with a strong advantage, because that's what you need with Isabel. You really cannot make mistakes, again, because she's so weak in the early game. So if you can do all of that, I kind of think I might have to rework these rankings here, especially with the new patch out. I have yet to try every single leader. So again, if you guys have a new leader that you want me to try out, let me know. Ooh, that's a mismatch blast. But if you have a leader that you want me to try out in the future, or for I guess next time's gameplay, let me know. I'm really enjoying this game right now. I think that last patch was much needed. It's a bit of a breath of fresh air, and I think we're going to see a lot more leaders viable. So again, I saw a lot of Johnson comments. I saw some Kodiak's comments in there from Ed Peter. So let me know what you guys still want to see, and I will hopefully be able to accommodate you as best I possibly can. If you enjoyed, please let me know. I like this. I like integrating the comments into the videos now. It kind of adds more dialogue that I don't think has necessarily been there in our past videos. So again, if you want to see something, let me know in the comments. If you don't see it in the next video, just keep commenting. I'm keeping a tally, so hopefully I'll get to everyone's comments over the next month or so, because we've got some time. We've got about 16 days until Awakening the Nightmare. Once that happens, there's going to be so much content pushed out. It's going to be absolutely crazy. So until then, if you've got something you want to see before then, let me know. Again, I'm going to do my very best to get all of that done for you guys. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Is a victory.